our guest is on the way. He's not yet here. He'll be here shortly. And that is Kimani Ichung'wah, the snake catcher.
Yes.
The leader of Majority in the National Assembly and MP for Kikuyu constituency. Delayed reconstitution of the IEBC. Locking the umpires over 60 billion shillings due to counties. Approval of Inspector General of Police nominee Douglas Kanja. Top the agenda for MPs as they resume sittings today. The long-awaited reconstitution of the IEBC is among their urgent business. National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula at the weekend called for the swift reconstitution of the electoral agency, saying many pending IEBC activities had stalled because of lack of commissioners. When Kimani Ichung'wah comes, we'll ask him what are the top priority agenda items in Parliament today. Before he gets here, let's see. Are people doing like that?
Yes.
Lydia, are they sending in their screenshots because they have subscribed to the Safaricom all-in-one package, monthly bundles, right?
Yep.
2,000 bob is what you need. You can go for more. But with 2,000 bob, imagine you are sorted. It's peace of mind. It's not a subscription. It is a subscription to peace of mind.
It's a subscription for peace of mind.
Yes.
Yes.
Mental health is a big thing in this country. And those small things that, for example, you are just received a please call me, right? You have received a please call me from a family member. And then you go to please call them, you find you don't have airtime.
Airtime to please call
And
them.
that's the time you don't also have money maybe on your M-Pesa. So you cannot please call them. Mental health, out of the window. But if you did 2,000 bob just once, and you did that, so you get 1,000 minutes talk time, 2,000 SMSs, 17 GB of data, free
That's
WhatsApp.
the word I was looking for. Data.
This thing for internet.
Yeah,
What are you
this
calling
thing
it?
for internet. Bundles. Good grief.
Yeah. That is peace of mind. Sindio? What we're saying today is dial *544#. That's *544#. USSD brings up now these are the suites of information. Select the one that says go monthly.
Yeah.
Once you do the go monthly, it brings another one. Select the one that you want. You want the all-in-one 2,000, all-in-one 5,000, all-in-one. Select that one. 2,000 bob is good. It takes you far. And the thing is, if you did the math comparatively, because we were talking about financial wellness earlier.
Yeah.
This the things of that you're topping up 150 bob to buy data. Then tomorrow you did 120 bob to buy airtime. Then you did another one, 500 shillings the last time to buy data because data was finished. Then you realize, okay, data is finished, but now you also can't do because, so you bought another airtime. If you look at it cumulatively, by the way, how much you're buying data, how much you're buying airtime, how much you're buying data in a month.
Probably spending more.
You're actually spending more. But if you do the 2,000, it's all bundled together and is cheaper for you. More economical to do the long one. All-in-one bundle by Safaricom. What are we telling people? Do that right now. Take a screenshot. Show us that you've actually subscribed to the peace of mind that Safaricom all-in-one bundle is bringing. And at the end of this show, we are going to give you more peace of mind by giving you 3,000 shillings.
There you go. Even more.
Nini ingine watu wanataka?
Nini
ingine watu wanataka? Hata ukiwa na nyoka kwa mkono.
Hata ukiangalia mlima.
Hata ukiangalia mlima. Nini ingine watu wanataka? The snake catcher is here. Kimani Ichung'wah, MP for Kikuyu and leader of the majority in the National Assembly. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here again.
Good morning to you.
Yeah?
How are you?
Very well. How was the recess?
Recess has been quite long, about 4 weeks.
You're itching to go back to work.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
We had a 4-week scheduled recess. Then we resumed today for another session before we take another short recess of 2 weeks. And the final lap, and we close the year.
There's a lot in your plate.
A lot.
And we'll be talking about that shortly. But first, let me welcome you with the day's proverb. City is not in. City has taken his recess. His is a short one.
I hope it's shorter than
It's
mine.
just about 2 weeks. Okay? But he left us with the proverbs, and he told us this week, the guests who come, give them proverbs from Libya. So today's proverb, the small donkey is the one that everybody rides. The small donkey is the one that everybody rides. What's your interpretation of this proverb?
The small donkey is the one that everybody rides. First, it's easier to climb. has less kicks. So it gets misused. So in a situation of a workplace, the small donkey or the small fish that get overworked.
Kabisa, eh? It's a good interpretation.
It is.
Ukiangalia kwa mlima.
Small donkeys.
Who is the small donkey that you people from the mountain are overworking?
Mwananchi, especially mkulima. That is a small donkey being overworked. Overworked in their tea farms, in their coffee farms. All over looking for pasture for their dairy cattle. But at the end of the day, the big fish walks away with all the farmer's sweat.
Yeah.
That's why you heard me say the other day, it is not fair that we campaigned on a platform of a bottom-up economic transformation agenda. And because I was a key member of the campaign team of the Kenya Kwanza team, and especially in my region, or the Mount Kenya region, we really campaigned around the issue of coffee, tea, and milk. And we made certain commitments to the people of Kenya that we will work very hard to ensure that our coffee, tea, and milk fetch the best prices that they can be. And in fact, we did even guarantee that there will be a guaranteed minimum return on many of these commodities. And you remember the president has been speaking about it and saying, especially on milk, that we have put aside money, and money was actually put aside, close to 3 billion shillings over the last 2 years, pumped into KCC to revitalize KCC and ensure that farmers are able to be paid a minimum of 50 shillings per litre, and to be paid, as was stipulated in government policy, after every 2 weeks. So probably on the 15th and 30th of every month, farmers should be paid. If you talk to any dairy farmer who delivers milk to KCC, they'll tell you that does not happen. Two, they are not being paid that 50 shillings. And the reason that price was being set is so that you set a price for the market. Because if KCC, being a price setter, pays 50 shillings, all other milk processors in the country will struggle to match that price. Because farmers definitely will move to the best price. They will do either 50 or better. Unfortunately, that has not happened because that money has ended up in the pockets of a very few people. The president and the government were very keen on all these coffee, milk, and tea sector reforms that under Executive Order number 1, he put the responsibility of those 3 sectors in the office of his deputy. When you speak to the industry, in the coffee industry, and they tell you coffee, there are people who are demanding 3 shillings per kg of coffee sold. And it's not someone who has worked in a coffee farm.
Demanding from who?
From the farmers and the people who will market the coffee.
To do what?
For what?
For their own take. And I say they have not sweated on any farm. They
Every
do not
kilo.
own an acre of coffee farms.
Who are they? Middlemen between the farmer and the potential buyer? Who are they?
Listen to me. They demand 3 shillings
Say it again
per
slowly.
kg of coffee.
So let's start, okay?
3 shillings per kg of coffee.
Let us start slowly.
Slowly, pole too.
Yes. Okay? There is a man called Waitara. He's in Othaya. He's a coffee farmer. I know him. So he harvests his coffee, takes to the local factory. So why is he losing the 3 bob? Now walk Waitara through where the 3 shillings
You
will.
take your coffee, and Waitara will not market his coffee directly. And you know that.
Yeah.
There are coffee marketers who will market the coffee. There are those who are licensed to market the coffee. Therefore, what has been happening, I'll give you the case example of Baricho, the Baricho factory cooperative society, where farmers, and these are smallholder coffee farmers, not really large scale, because most of the large scale coffee farmers are able even to get their own markets. And I know, for instance, those a few in Kiambu County, where I come from, who are able to grow their coffee and are able to market it themselves directly. They're even able to mill for themselves and market directly to the buyers out there. But the small-scale, smallholder coffee farmers are pooled together in cooperative societies.
Yeah.
The case you had in Madera constituency the other day is an instance where someone was brought in to buy the coffee. That person, if you listen to the farmers, they'll tell you the people who brought them to the cooperative to buy their coffee. And they were guaranteed that this person would buy their cherry at 112 shillings per kg. And the society went ahead, borrowed some money, waiting for compensation, for some compensation to get from Kenha for a meal. I think that part of their property in Karatina was to be taken away for the roadworks. When the payments came in, it was not paid at 112, it was paid at 85 shillings. To make it worse, that 85 shillings was not paid to the last coin. The 3 shillings I'm telling you was withheld from farmers.
So it became 82.
At 82 shillings. And that is why you saw the protests, farmers invading some, I think their chairman's or one of the officials' farms and slashing his coffee. And it was not until the area member of parliament and the CS, through the intervention of the president, intervened and went and held a meeting with the farmers and were able to resolve the issue. But it had to take the government stepping in to ensure first that farmers are able to continue with their lives and get paid. And I want to believe that the CS in charge, CS Oparanya, is making effort through the Ministry, the State Department of Cooperatives to ensure that those who may have been involved in the misappropriation of coffee farmers' resources, right from the cooperative to the buyers, to those who brought the buyers to the farmers, will take responsibility for their actions.
Who are these people, Kimani?
They're in government.
What do you mean they're in government?
I mean exactly that. They're in government.
Coffee is KPCU.
And you can ask the person who is in charge of the coffee reforms. The same person I said, you can ask them why you saw in one of the dailies the other month news that tea worth close to 32 billion shillings, over 30 billion shillings, was rotting away in Mombasa.
So if I can open this up just a little
Why?
bit.
Because somebody had insisted that most of the tea that is being sold should go through certain brokerages. Find out who owns those brokerages.
Let me open this up. You had said very clearly that all of these operations from the coffee reforms fall under the ambit of the office of the Deputy President, right? That's clear. So it should be at that doorstep that we ask these questions of why 112 shillings per kg is not paid, and even the 85 that they were guaranteed after whatever is still not paid. So are you saying that the Deputy President and the person of Rigathi Gachagua should be able to answer why this money is not being paid to farmers, and should also be able to answer who these individuals are who are taking this extra money that should actually go to farmers? Because it was on the promise that you heavily campaigned for, that at the very least the people at the bottom of the totem pole would get their due for the work that they did. He should be able to answer the questions as to why now those promises are not being kept?
Precisely. That's what I'm saying. The person responsible is none other than the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya.
How is he responsible?
Not only in his office that this work was vested on under Executive Order Number 1, but he is the one who has convened all coffee, tea, and milk sector reform meetings. He has presided over the reforms or the purported reforms in all the sectors. He should be able to answer to many of the questions that I have raised, farmers have raised. In fact, I have only spoken on behalf of farmers because they are the small donkey, you said, that everybody tends to climb on. And what I have said, that morally, ethically, I will not sit back and be quiet when the people on whose backs we rode onto power are suffering, and suffering at the expense of those who think that they are powerful, they hold big offices in this country. And that, if you remember, we spoke at length about state capture. And I said the other day, state capture can't have been wrong under the previous regime, then becomes right under this regime. Because we now hold power and we think nobody can ask anything to anyone. If nobody else will ask, I will ask. And I don't ask for myself. I'm not a coffee farmer. I only own one cow and one calf. That's doing about 32 liters in a day, which I consume with my family and my few neighbors who can be able to buy a bottle or two.
Has this always been your position? Or is there a political wrangle that's going on between certain factions at the mountain that would make you say this now?
Let me say, there are no factions on, and if they were there, I spoke about these things during the campaigns and even before the campaigns. Because for me, it basically boiled down to that state capture of an economy is evil. Because people get levers to power to be able to deliver on the promises and pledges you made to the people. When you get into power and you forget everything you promised the people, and you start doing the very same things you promised the people that you would not do, then it doesn't sit well with me. Therefore, I spoke about it before. I have spoken about it. I have raised it with the Deputy President himself and told him the coffee sector, there's grumbling. We have replaced what were called cartels with new cartels, the same with the tea sector. We are not doing what we ought to be doing. Of course, everybody plays ignorant and innocent. But far from the truth, because some of these issues are issues that are in the hands of investigative agencies. When the truth finally comes out, I think I shall stand vindicated over time. Because, I told you I'm not a coffee farmer myself. I'm not a tea farmer. My constituents are not coffee or tea farmers, at least those that I represent directly. But being a national leader and a leader in the National Assembly, and especially one who vigorously campaigned for this regime, I have a moral duty to ensure that what we promised our farmers, being the small donkeys, does happen.
When you asked the Deputy President these questions, what response did he give you?
We are working on it. I'm on top of things.
And you have reason not to believe that?
How would you be on top of things when farmers are losing money? And they're not losing money because the market is bad. They are losing money because money is ending up in people's pockets. How would it be bad when a whole entire board of KCC, and I said it the other day, took the intervention of the president to have the KCC board disbanded, fire the CEO, the former CEO at KCC, and have a new board in place? You just need to be in the know to know who were putting those people in the boards and who influenced who to be in what board, and I happen to be in the know.
So,
and Latif, let me tell you, I never, ever say anything that I do not know. Never. And I have said it. If anybody has contrary information, bring it on.
So these duties were placed in the office of the Deputy President by the President via executive order. This is executive order number 1 of 2023.
2022.
The first one. The very first one.
The very first one.
Executive order number 1 of 2022, not 2023. I'm looking at the one for 2023. So let me get the one for 2022. So in that executive order, what was the deputy supposed to do? What is the office of the Deputy President supposed to do when it comes to dairy sector, the tea sector, and the coffee sector?
Remember, the office of the Deputy President constitutionally doesn't have specific roles.
Yes.
But it was a commitment of the President way even before, during the campaigns.
Yes.
He did commit to Kenyans that his deputy will have functions. And that is why, under that executive order, certain functions in government, including the chairing of cabinet subcommittees, was delegated to the office of the Deputy President. So he chairs all cabinet subcommittees. Those who sit in cabinet will tell you Initially, it was supposed, I think, to be 4 subcommittees, but they were later all collapsed into one subcommittee. And this is where all government business is processed. Everything that goes to cabinet first goes through that subcommittee, then goes to the main cabinet chaired by the president. And when these subcommittees were collapsed, then it happened that it's basically the entire cabinet that was sitting under the chairmanship of the deputy president, now as a subcommittee of the cabinet. Then later they would meet as an entire cabinet. And if you speak to cabinet secretaries who sit in those meetings, they will tell you many of the things processed in the subcommittees basically just come, because the same group, except the president. The president will, when I ask, process through the subcommittee, yes, and they approve. Therefore, the responsibilities that were given to the office of the deputy president were deliberate, so that the deputy president is busy and in actual sense becomes the de facto principal assistant to the president to help him with the running of government, right from that business of chairing subcommittees to ensure that everything that's going through government and cabinet is approved by cabinet and subcommittees, to the functions that were given in the reform sector of the coffee, tea, and milk. And specifically, we were to ensure that the things that we promised in our manifesto, that GMR, the guaranteed minimum return, to ensure that cartels that were basically in control of the tea, milk, and coffee sectors were vanquished, not replaced, vanquished, so that the farmer gets value for their sweat. Real value of the crop gets back, or the larger percentage of it gets back to the farmer, not to cartels and middlemen in between. What we have done now is simply replace the middlemen and the cartels with those who are there, with the new ones.
So when the Office of the Deputy President, I'm looking at Executive Order number 1 of 2022, and I don't see where it specifies these particular sectors, but it says the key officers and institutions under the Office of the Deputy President. There is, of course, the Principal Administrative Secretary, International Development Partnership Coordination, Nairobi Rivers Commission, the Intergovernment Budget and Economic Council, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the National and County Governments Owners Advisory Committee. The mandate of the office: deputize for the president in execution of the functions, chair cabinet committees, oversee implementation of cabinet decisions across all ministries, coordinate intergovernmental relations, liaison with constitutional commissions, coordinate the planning and supervision of, supervise implementation of development partners, oversee public sector reforms, and any other functions as may be assigned by the president. Which one specifically puts those 3 sectors?
What was the last thing you read?
Any other functions
As
may be assigned by the president.
And that is exactly what happened. That particular function was assigned to him. You saw the deputy president convene meetings in those sectors. I remember the one on coffee reforms in Meru.
Yes.
The one on tea in Kericho. I don't remember the one on milk or where, or if it was ever held. But at least those 2 I attended.
Okay.
I actually attended the one in Meru. And I remember that day I had a meeting in Nairobi in Parliament on House leadership. I got there late in the evening, spent the night in Meru, and attended the meeting the following day, full day meeting. And many of the issues that were being raised by farmers there in terms of doing away with the cartels, actually, for me, it was a learning lesson because, as I said, I do not have any interest, or I don't represent people who grow tea and coffee. So I sat there, and I remember I was seated with the former Minister for Cooperatives, Honorable Chelugui, and the member for Tinderet, Meli, who happens to have coffee in his constituency. And I had a very educative and interactive session with them because I got to learn a lot of what goes on in the sector, especially during elections for these cooperative societies. how those who were called the cartels would influence even election of officials in the cooperative societies to ensure that they determine who you sell the farmers' coffee to. All the shenanigans that are in that industry. And the same pervades even in the tea sector. When I attend the forum at, I think it was Kericho Golf Club, some club grounds in Kericho, on a very rainy afternoon. Same issues. And very good proposals were discussed and agreed on in all these meetings under the chairmanship of the Deputy President.
Yeah.
You probably need to visit him and ask him why these things that came out of those meetings have never been
as the coordinator of
implemented.
this and a chair as well of the cabinet committees, the functions have not really been brought under him. It's the Ministry of Agriculture is still handling matters of agriculture. Ministry of Cooperatives and MSME is still handling matters of cooperatives and MSME. KPCU and the others are still under MSME's ministry, right? So the job is to work with these ministries to ensure that what is for the benefit of farmers is realized.
And that is why, Latif,
So is the responsibility now moving from the cooperative to the PS to the CS to the Deputy President in that order? Or is the responsibility starting from the Deputy President going down?
that is why in his wisdom, and I don't speak for the President, I can only second guess, that is why in his wisdom, he placed these responsibilities in the office of the Deputy President, because it is something that required heavy lifting. It is something, for instance, that required interministerial cooperation between the Ministry of Agriculture on matters policy, the Ministry of MSME and Cooperatives, then under Chelguya, now under Honorable Paranya. And therefore, when you have an office where intergovernmental relations, interministerial relations can be coordinated, it is either at the presidency or probably at the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office. And in his own wisdom, the President placed it under the office of the Deputy President. I cannot tell you why he did that. I can only imagine, because it required heavy lifting. And two, it was also assumed you mean well for farmers. You have been in this campaign right from the word go. These are issues that touch on the people that hail from the region that we come from. And therefore, it would only be natural to assume that you will act in the best interest of the people. Or whether he has acted in the best interest of the people or not, that is only the coffee farmer in Madeira who can tell you. It is a tea farmer in Kericho or in Lari, Kagwe Tea Factory, who can tell you. It is a milk farmer in Kikuyu, in Nyandarua, in the North and South Rift, who can tell you, all those in Meru.
And you've heard a lot of noise coming from all these farmers. And you've then gone to the Deputy President and asked him, have you talked to his appointing authority? No, the person who actually assigned these roles to him. Have you asked the President?
You know, I don't supervise any of these offices.
True. You oversight.
I oversight.
Yes.
I don't supervise.
Therefore,
I'll not.
The same way you raised the question.
Definitely. I told you before I even spoke out in public. Call the Deputy President. Ask him, did I ever raise these issues with him? Did I not tell him things?
The question now
right?
is whether you've raised them
There was
with
a
the
lot of
President.
grumbling. I did raise it. I'll tell you, when I raised the issue of new KCC with the President, he immediately convened a meeting and was able to sort out the issue of new KCC. And you see the actions that have been taken. On coffee, I'll tell you, there was a group of farmers from Githunguri constituency who had issues with milling of their coffee. I raised it to the Deputy President, nothing happened. I walked to the President, raised the issue with him. He did direct on what needed to be done to assist them, and they were assisted and they got help with their coffee. Of course, to the chagrin of many other people.
That it could actually be done.
There's no rocket science. It's doable.
Okay.
Shall we take a break? Let's take that break. Come back shortly. 24 minutes to 10. The leader of the majority in the National Assembly, who's also Member of Parliament for Kikuyu constituency, Kimani Ichung'wah, is our guest this morning. We are talking about the issues plaguing the government from Mount Kenya coming all the way up to the other government and what the issues are. He appears to be raising specific issues against a specific officer in government, this time the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. Is the snake biting or is it not? Is the viper still in the hand, in the arm, or is it not? It's a conversation we're having. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.